It's my great pleasure to have this opportunity to do this interview chat with Esther. I brought a piece of paper because there's a lot that's happening that I have to read. So anyway, I can safely say that Esther really represents what ICE stands for, which is the idea of somebody who is really excellent and can do anything they want, and then somehow they choose to do things that benefit humanity. So in her own words, Esther, who is actually an actual astronaut, if you want to say that.
Trained, not flown.
Trained, not flown. She said when she decided to focus more on healthcare, somebody asked her why, and she said, because doing things in space is not doing enough to help the people here. That's really the essence of our business. So anyway, so mission-driven founders are really rare. They're unique because they want to change the world. And to change the world, you need resources and you need power to effect that change. We have today a lot of entrepreneurs that have founded businesses, have a lot of money, asking for power, but they don't think about changing the world. So my first question to you is, tell me a little bit more about your background. What kind of person has that level of success, can do whatever they want, and then suddenly decides that they want to do good for humanity? Why didn't you also want to ask for a $1 trillion paycheck like Mr. Musk?
So you heard from Sean, my dad invented the Dyson spheres, which again was an idea. He never built one, unfortunately. I grew up in a complete bubble at the Institute. Is that better? Yeah. At the Institute for Advanced Study in Princeton, my dad's boss was Oppenheimer. I was surrounded by Nobel Prize winners, and it was amazing, but completely divorced from reality. And long story, I spent the year I was 13 in England with some friends of my dad's. I really wanted to get out and see the real world. So I went to college early. After my first year, they suggested maybe you could take some time off. So I went and spent a couple of months living with my boyfriend who was working with the Peace Corps in Morocco. And my parents were great. They said, well, if you get into trouble, we won't come rescue you. If you get pregnant, we won't take care of the baby. But go do what you want to do. And since I spoke French, I actually did okay, except I wasn't supposed to be there, and I had to hide under the bed when Tim's boss from the Peace Corps came. Graduated from Harvard eventually, and had worked for the Harvard Crimson. I never. So a lot of people dream, I'm back in college, I need to study for the exam. I dreamt I was back in college. I knew there was an exam, but I wasn't sure what courses I had signed up for because I never went. But I loved being a reporter and finding out new stuff, as opposed to learning stuff people already knew. And that ultimately was sort of the arc. I spent 25 years with a tech newsletter and a tech conference that we started with Bill Gates and Steve Jobs. We ended with Mark Zuckerberg and Reid Hoffman, and it was magical watching this industry change. And at the beginning, there were a few of us: Kara Swisher, Walt Mossberg. By the end, this was 2007, I'd already started going to Russia in 1989, which is kind of the other big theme of my life. I learned so much about the United States by seeing it from outside, and especially from Russia, which is a whole different story. Came back, got interested in healthcare, and then pretty quickly began to realize healthcare is a giant repair business. What about maintenance? How do we keep people healthy and resilient? Took the 6 months off to train at the Yuri Gagarin Cosmonaut Training Center. Learned about space medicine and space plumbing. And also, I'd started going to Russia in 1989, just when things changed, when they got rid of Brezhnev and Khrushchev and Yeltsin came in, and things were amazing. We thought it would be incredibly wonderful. The problem was, in a sense, there were two religions. There was communism and there's capitalism. But what you had in Russia was the corrupt church. And both those churches were corrupt. The religions are okay.
Mm-hmm.
So in the end, as we've all seen, it hasn't ended badly, it's just continuing badly. Came back, started a 5-year nonprofit working in 5 small communities around the US. So yes, I wish the best for humanity, but in a sense what's driving me is being useful. And we'll get to that later, but I have no delusion I can save humanity. I can be useful for part of it, and the challenge is always figuring out which part are you best at being useful in. And because your life is finite, can you have a little fun along the way? Not with yachts, but with people you love, people who love you. Hearing comedy at an investor meeting. It's great.
Ladies and gentlemen, Esther Dyson, please.
Wow, that's it feels like you've lived many, many lifetimes.
Yeah, I'm pretty old, but
not in that sense. In terms of the experience, which brings me to the idea of term limits. You sort of started to talk about that. You have a new book that's with the publishers, and you say and propose a philosophy, a framework that is pretty fascinating about being useful and not trying to do it all and live forever and dominate. Tell us a little bit more about this philosophy of term limits, and maybe in the context of the nonprofit that you founded, which is rare, which has a finite end date.
Yeah.
Most nonprofits we know, they want to live forever so that the problem continues.
So that's where I got this notion of term limits. Wellville was originally 5 years, and 2-3 years in, it became clear we couldn't really do what we wanted to do quite that quickly. And I got lucky in the stock market with Square and Facebook, which basically paid for the 10 years. So we extended it to 10. And the idea was not, we're going to go to these 5 small US communities and bring them fish. It wasn't even, we're going to teach them how to fish. It was, we want to help you build your own fishing schools. But we're more like the grifter, the stone soup guy. Do you know that story? I've got this magic stone. Give me a pot, put in a little bit of water and some vegetables, and it will cure cancer. It will let you live forever. And basically, the villagers make their own soup in their own pot with their own vegetables and a bit of beef. And of course, the guy collected a lot of money and then left. But that basic idea, you've actually got the ingredients. What you need is the talisman and sort of the permission from someone to do what you want to do. And so much nonprofit is about, I've got this great idea, I want your community to do it. And they do it for 3 years, and then you want to go do something more innovative. And you go off with your money and a nice little report to your funders. But so 10 years later, we were ending Wellville, and we had little ceremonies, and people would come up, it's a little awkward, Esther, but I hear Wellville is ending? Yes, it's supposed to end. It's a project. It wasn't meant to live forever. Mm-hmm. And if anybody here, who remembers the Lone Star Cafe on 13th and 5th in New York, sort of Rodney Dangerfield-like thing, a bar. Over its roof, there was this giant statue of an iguana, and on the side it said, "Too much ain't enough." And the notion here is, too much is too much. Enough is perfect. Do what you need to do it effectively. Anyway, term limits, Jimmy Carter died. Oh, how sad. No, it's not sad. Celebrate the man's life. On the other hand, Joe Biden refused to resign. That was sad. And kind of everywhere I turned, it was term limits. Term limits are not, like so many things, they're not good or bad. They are good, but the right term limits are good. The bad term limits get rid of somebody too early or too late.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of knowing when enough is enough. And all along this, I've been getting, as you can imagine, I started out when AI was basically logic models, and AI is basically whatever we haven't quite figured out yet. So it's moved, but certainly LLMs really are a sea change in what we use it for. I mean, one argument in the book is it's not really an it or a they. We need a new pronoun for AIs. Anyway, so I thought I would write this book called Term Limits and talk about fundamentally the dynamic tension between humans who are finite and die, but are also unique, and each one is irreplaceable, versus a culture of too much ain't enough, a culture of exponential growth and the quantification of everything. And the purpose of this book was not, oh, I know all this stuff, I want to write it and then sell a book. It was, I really want to understand this better. Mm-hmm. And in order to do that, write a book. So I went down numerous rabbit holes of all kinds and discovered how much religion, folk tales, this notion of the tension between unique, lovable humans whose life is precious, and then the quantification of money and its abuse to gain power and so forth and so on. I wanted to understand that better and make it clear to people. So ask some more questions.
Yeah,
I could talk for way too long. I need my own term limits.
This is fantastic. I think we are kind of zeroing into the more technical details of the individual actors. So here we have vision-driven founders who are excited and want to change things and want to bring good to the world. But in your book, you said in your own company, when you came back and your computer was dead, you realized somebody had to come to you and say, hey, Esther, I think you're kind of becoming an asshole a little bit. So how do individual actors and founders who are driven manage power? So we heard today from Raj, he talked about collaboration, and Andrew talked about community. So how do we think about keeping ourselves accountable and grounded?
You need to surround yourself. I mean, you fundamentally need to be willing to listen, and that's the problem. If you're lucky, it happens early, or you're married to Melinda French or Mackenzie Scott, and they keep you in line until you escape the reservation. And that is really, but it is really sad. I've seen so many people who started out mission-driven, DNA, don't be evil. You get seduced first, then you get corrupted by power, by people. One of the saddest stories is Tony Hsieh, who everybody could see he was kind of going off his own reservation and doing drugs and basically committed what I call negligent suicide. You need to surround yourself with people who will tell you the truth. But of course, what happens is you surround people whose jobs and status depend on you, and they won't tell you the truth. Do you know about the two Elon Musks?
No.
Okay.
Tell us more.
Good prompt. So there's the Elon Musk at Tesla and Twitter. Everybody knows him. He's a maniac. He does drugs. He impregnates women. He gets $1 trillion, not guarantees, but promises, and is completely off the reservation. He's unsupervised and fully self-driving, and ultimately dangerous to himself and everybody. Wonderful and brilliant as he is. His spaceships work. And so there's also the Elon at SpaceX. The difference there is Gwynne Shotwell, who's the president, who, this is not inside information. It's just what I believe. You just can imagine him walking to NASA with Gwynne, and she says, okay, Elon, just keep quiet. Don't say anything unless I poke you. No drugs. Just shh, okay? he's been working with her since 2001, and she is not afraid of him. As far as I can tell, everybody else around him is terrified. Oh, I don't want to lose access to Elon Musk. I mean, there's one other elephant in the room that people don't want to lose access to. And
what's that?
Okay, I want to tell, it's Trump.
Yeah, tell us more. Keep going.
Well, I mean, the same thing is happening there. People don't want to lose the favor of the emperor who has no clothes but is carrying bags of money.
Wow, all right. So outside of having people around you that you respect, how do we manage founders who go rogue? How do we manage a society, some of the externalities of the negative effects of power?
I think you mentioned one this morning who started flying a jet or something, and you basically withdrew your support.
Oh, yes.
I mean, the best thing you can do for people like this is get them to listen. And it doesn't always work. I mean, I'm sure there's people who've tried with Jeff Bezos, and in fact, I know a few who have, and they mostly end up going elsewhere. There's this notion of founder mode now, which is an extremely appealing sounding, but also dangerous. The founder who has enough exits to not need money and has a board where he has voting control. And there is nothing that controls these people. What you can do is be honest, pick wisely. This is something we all need to do, is tell truth to people so that they don't go off the reservation, restrict. There's no good answer. I mean, we all need to be better at doing that and better at surrounding ourselves with people who, my editor tells me truth all the time. She's wonderful. I've worked with her for 20 years in different jobs. And, get people who will constrain your worst instincts, and just make sure that whoever you deal with, they do have a board that has voting control, and it's not just in the hands of the founder, that the board is not full of people the founder picked, which is easy to do if they really need your money. It's not so easy to do if they've had 3 exits and they now think that they can be founder mode and do what they like. But that is what I would be. I mean, one good story where I really dodged a bullet, the founder of Ubiome, nice scientist, microbiome stuff. I was thinking of investing and asked her, so, you're clearly a really good scientist, but at some point you're going to need a business, probably a CEO, a partner. Oh, no. I've always wanted to be CEO. That is not a good mission. That is not what I invest in. And she ended up committing insurance fraud, not medical fraud like Elizabeth Holmes, but insurance. And in this case, I actually blame the board, because I think they probably told her, we need more revenues. It's not that founders are bad and boards are good. It's the dynamics. But anyway.
So how do we scale term limits at a global level, at an institutional, national level in the world?
We listen to people that understand the difference between power to and power over. And applaud power to, applaud a sense of agency.
What's the difference between those two, power to
and
power over?
To is to do something, and power over is to force other people to do what you want them to do.
But in some ways you need the power over, right, to instruct, to execute the thing that you'd like to.
You need the power to persuade people of the truth. And of course you can use the power to persuade people of delusions or persuade people with money. I mean, it's, again, I'm not proposing a simple answer. I'm proposing about how you think about these things, and applaud people who have the power to do things, and collect a team of people who are excited about the mission, not excited about how rich they're going to get working for this guy. It's just telling the truth and opening your eyes to the reality. So there's a fair amount about evolution in this book too, how we evolved to be intelligent, and it includes this notion of theory of mind. How first you realize, oh, I'm happy, I'm hungry, I want more food. Oh, mommy's happy, but if I stop crying, she gets happier, and somehow that makes me happy. That's through evolution. Then there's what I call theory of business mind. In other words, understanding people's business models. Why are they so nice to me? Why do they keep giving me this food that tastes so good, but I can't stop eating it, and it's bad for me? Why do I keep scrolling on these videos? I know I really need to go to work and catch the plane or whatever. And just being, I like to call a cynic is a disappointed idealist. And it's important to be cynical enough to understand what's happening around you without losing the idealism. And
so,
it's easy to sit here and tell everybody what they should do, but it's much harder to help make the world actually do that, other than by being a good model. And in the sense of term limits, you can't do everything, but bring your children up right. Be a good boss. Set your own priorities. If I thought I was going to live forever, I've got too much to do, it would drive me crazy. But my life is finite, so all I need to do is set a few priorities and do the first things on the list until the end.
So you're emphasizing people, having the right people around you, but AI is basically promising us to have these billion-dollar founders that can fire everybody and just get the machines to do what you want.
Yeah.
How do we balance that out?
That I don't think should be that balanced. I think it's very much in favor of the humans. Use AI to do all the stuff that's boring, and then, I mean, it's a pitch for Avonlea Care, which is my company here. But even as we have more and more AI, the value of human love and human connection gets more important, not less. And at the same time, it actually frees people's time up so that they can do those. I mean, it's more fun to engage with people than to produce a sales report. People go to work, and there's all kinds of statistics, but bad bosses. The stat I really want to see is a mental health company, and not what happened to the senior exec who got the mental counseling, but what happened to the people who worked for that senior exec. Did retention increase? Did employee satisfaction increase? Bad bosses are toxic, and good bosses are amazing, and they create joy. And I don't know how.
We're doing.
One of the wonderful things in my book is I got Robert Mankoff, the New Yorker cartoonist, to do the cartoon for me of one of my favorite stories. French nobleman driving through the countryside in his horse and carriage sees 3 workmen laying bricks. He asks each of them in turn, "What are you doing?" And the first one says, of course, in peasant French, "Hey, dude, I'm laying bricks, can't you see?" The second one says, "I'm building a cathedral." And the third one says, "I'm honoring God." And guess which one was happiest?
Honoring God?
Yeah, not a hard guess.
Well, you never know. So what's next for you? How, in your evolution of understanding humans, term limits, human behavior, what's next after this book?
Well, so the book is going to take a little longer to come out. And my dad was sort of known as a heretic who still believed in religion. And I'm finding, no, I'm not religious, but my values have at least emerged to me more clearly, just in terms of spending more time with family, so I want to do more. One challenge, and this is very interesting, people keep asking me to put money in their funds. And I keep saying, no, I like to invest in the companies directly. I learn more, and I get more joy and satisfaction. Everything is intermediated. You have bots do stuff for you. They should do the boring stuff, but they shouldn't do the interactions for you. They shouldn't pick which charity you donate to. They shouldn't, and frankly, donate to the food pantry and go visit sometimes and actually serve people the tamales with rice or whatever. It's the irony is it's good for you too. It's actually interacting with people, seeing someone react to your presence, reacting to their presence. Philanthropy is not about counting how much you gave. It's being there when somebody received. And so, I'm trying to be more personal and less intermediated in my own life too.
Wow.
Which is
profound.
why I look forward to meeting as many of you as I can.
I think that's a good point to end. Proximity, getting rid of the middlemen, and having direct access to things.
Yeah, have the efficiency be really, really efficient, but then free that time up. I'll close with one other story. So
yes.
Narayana Murthy, who co-founded Infosys, the Indian company. I was working with them over the years for a while and got invited to dinner at his house. One of the big 3 Indian software companies, and lots of people had palaces. And he said to me, "It's actually quite modest, though we do have a house for our children next door." And it genuinely was modest. His wife brought out the food herself. There weren't servants in steel pots, and it was a very nice meal. And we talked, and he said, certainly it's different. When I was growing up in the village, we were also the richest people in town. But when people came around for food, we didn't have the kitchen lady bring it to them in the back door. We invited them to join us at the table.
Oh, wow. That's a good way to end. I'm not going to try to summarize what Esther said, but I think it's just be human, be good, and embrace the finiteness of life, I guess.
Yeah, and go hug somebody.
Wow, thank you so much. I'll hug you.